Hello, this is Mrs. Moslick, and these are notes for 10-8 equations of circles. Go ahead and do the 2 warm-up questions. Pause the video. When you are done, go ahead and play. Okay, warm-up number 1. Who got 5? Excellent. So let's go ahead and do that in case you have not gotten the number 5. Distance between 2 points. We will use the distance formula. D equals quantity x, square root of the quantity x2 minus x1 squared plus the quantity y2 minus y1 quantity squared. The first point we will label x1, y1. Second point x2, y2. Plug in the particular numbers. So D equals square root of the quantity -6 minus a -2 squared plus 7 minus 4 quantity squared. Inside the square root, we have in parentheses -4 squared plus in parentheses 3 squared. So -4 quantity squared is -4 times -4. That is 16. 3 times 3 is 9. So inside the square root, again, we keep the square root the entire time. So every step, put the square root of 25. And the square root of 25 is 5. One way to remember that is 25 is 5 times 5. Circle a pair of numbers. Out of the square root comes that number. So our answer is 5. Let's go ahead and do the warm-up number 2. And in order to do the warm-up number 2, we want to find the length of CP. Let's call that X. However, we are going to draw in a right angle. So we have a right triangle we will work with. And we will find A, and then we will double A to get our final answer. The radius is 8, and the arc measure of CP is 104 degrees. So that is the central angle is 104, but we're going to take half of 104, and that's 52. So what we have here is a right triangle. 52 degrees is our reference angle. A is our opposite side. 8 is the hypotenuse. So we will use SOHCAHTOA, right triangle trigonometry. So let's go ahead and circle our reference angle and label the sides. The opposite side is O. The hypotenuse is H. So since we have and need O and H, we will use sine. So let's go ahead and write this out. So we have sine of angle 52 degrees equals the opposite side is A over the hypotenuse side is 8. Write it as a proportion. So put sine of 52 over 1. Cross multiply and you get A equals 8 times sine of 52. And we want to round to the nearest hundredth, so go ahead and put that in your calculator. We have 8 times sine 52, enter, and we get 6.30. And then we are going to multiply it by 2. So we have x is a plus a, or 2a. So that is approximately equal to 2 times 6.30. But why don't we have it exactly 2 times this original value for a 8 times sine of 52. So we'll put that all in our calculator. Put in your calculator 2 times 8 times sine 52, enter, and we get 12.608. And so rounded to the nearest hundredth would be 12.61. And that would be inches. Okay, so that is review. Let's now look at the equation of a circle. So we looked at the equation of the circle before in the preview notes, but let's just verify again. The equation of a circle comes from the Pythagorean theorem. It comes from a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So just as a quick understanding of what that is, remember the center of a circle is h comma k, and a point on a circle is just a random point. Let's call it x comma y. And the definition of a circle is the set of all points that are equidistant to a center point. So that would be your radius. And then remember what we did is we figured out that's just your a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So anyways, that's where the equation of a circle comes from, where your a is big minus small. So that would be x minus h. And big minus small vertically, y minus k. Again, equation of a circle comes from a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Your center is h comma k. It's the opposite of what's being done inside the parentheses, comma the opposite of what's being done inside the parentheses with the y. So just be careful with the center. You take the opposite of what's in the parentheses to find the center point. Let's go ahead and use the equation of a circle to answer some questions on the backside. Example 1, write the equation of the circle with center -2, 4, and radius 3, then graph the circle. So the equation of a circle is x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. The center of a circle is h comma k, and the radius is r. So let's go ahead and replace those letters with those numbers. So we have x minus h, which is -2 quantity squared, plus y minus 4 quantity squared equals 3 squared. Let's simplify our answer. Minus and negative is plus. So x plus 2 quantity squared plus y minus 4 quantity squared equals 9. That is our answer. We are also asked to graph the circle. So to graph the circle, let's start with the center point, -2, 4. Now, a center point is not a part of the circle. It just helps us understand where the circle is. So I'll use red for that center point, and then I'll just use blue for the rest of the circle. The radius is 3. So once you graph that center point, then we're going to go to the right by 3 from that center point, go back to the center point left by 3, go back to the center point up by 3, and then back to the center point down by 3. Do as best as you can to connect those 3 points in a circular orientation. We are done with example 1. Example 2, we want to graph this circle. In order to graph a circle, let's go ahead and write down the general equation of a circle. And that is quantity x minus h quantity squared plus quantity y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. So in this problem, r squared equals 16. Take the square root of both sides. When you take the square root of both sides of an equation, take the plus or minus. So we get plus or minus 4. But the radius is just a distance, so we'll just use the positive value. So the radius is 4. The center is the opposite of what's being done to the x and the opposite of what's being done to the y inside the parentheses. So like here in this general equation, the center is h comma k, even though there's a minus in front of both of them. So in our circle equation, take the opposite of 3, that is -3, and the opposite of nothing is just 0. So we're going to plot that point, that's our center point, -3, 0. I like to plot the circle center in red pen. Again, that reminds me that that is not a part of the circle. It just describes where the circle is. And once you have that center point, we're going to go left, right, up, and down from that center point by the radius amount. So from that center point, go over to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, make a point. Then go back to the center point left, 1, 2, 3, 4, make a point. Then go back to the center point up, 1, 2, 3, 4, make a point. Go back to the center point down, 1, 2, 3, 4. When you have made all of those points, connect them as best as you can in a circular fashion. We just have one last problem to do, and it says write the equation of a circle that has center 1, -2 and passes through this other point. So let's write down the general equation of a circle, x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. So the center is h comma k. Oh, it doesn't give us the radius, but it does pass through a point. So remember, a point on the circle is just x comma y. So we're going to have to figure out what r is, but we'll plug in these numbers into the equation. So we have x, which is -3, minus h is 1, quantity squared, plus y is negative 2, minus k is negative 2, equals r squared. We don't know what r squared is. We're going to figure that out. But we do know h comma k. So we have negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4 quantity squared, plus negative 2 minus a negative 2 is 0, equals r squared. So a negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. 16 plus 0 is just 16. So now we know what r squared is. We don't need to know that r is the square root of 16, which is 4. We just need r squared because the question is, what is the equation of the circle? That is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And instead of h, k, and r, let's plug in those numbers. So h is 1, so x minus 1 squared plus y minus k, so minus a negative 2 is plus 2 squared equals the r squared is this 16. That is our final answer.